A California bill that would end faithless electors during presidential elections is now awaiting the governor's signature. However, experts say that this will only strengthen the two-party system, which is something our forefathers never intended. A California bill would end faithless electors in the state's presidential voting. But two experts said that the current influence of political parties on electors was not what the founding fathers intended.
A faithless elector is somebody who is pledged to vote for a certain candidate for president and then gets to the place to vote and decides not to.
Along with ending faithless electors, the bill would remove fines and punishments currently outlined in state law. While California has never reported any cases of faithless electors in its history, the issue has become more prominent since the 2016 presidential election.
We vote for a slate of electors, and the party whose slate wins, those people are the electors who make up the Electoral College, and they're the ones who vote expressing the will of the voter. A faithless elector will go off and say, no, I can't do it, and they will, in very rare circumstances, not vote for the person that they are pledged to vote for.
Robert McWhirter, a criminal attorney and constitutional historian, told NTD News that since California is a Democratic stronghold, the bill might not do much for the state. That's because, he says, political parties now have much more influence over electors.
Over time, the political parties got a hold of it, and they passed statutes in states, like what California is proposing, that requires electors to follow the will of the party, and the party controls the electors, and they're not independent.
The proposed law would require that electors pledge their votes to the winning presidential and vice presidential candidates. Electors who fail to do so will have their vote vetoed, be removed from their position, and replaced. But according to McWhirter, the current way the country votes for the president is not what the founding fathers intended.
That the framers of the Constitution actually intended the electors to have more independence. But the framers of the Constitution never intended there to be political parties, at least when they wrote the Constitution. The idea was you vote for people who then would make the decision to be presidents.
The founding fathers established the idea of electors as a compromise between electing the president through Congress versus a popular vote. This was intended to keep dishonest people from becoming president. Paul Engel, author and founder of the Constitution Study, told NTD News that the electors today are chosen based on a, quote, political slate. He added that most state electors will vote for the party that wins in the statewide election.
In the past, when electors were truly free to vote their conscience, back before political parties took over the process, it was more of an issue from the standpoint of it happened more, but it was less of an issue because there wasn't the expectation that if I choose you to be my elector, I'm assuming you have enough information and integrity to vote for the best candidate, kind of like I'm electing a representative for Congress. Only today, as we have this politicized partisan process, does the idea of faithless elector really mean anything.
Engel added that individual states are responsible for managing domestic affairs and the interests of their own people. He says the proposed law does not violate the Constitution.
California is perfectly within its rights, its powers to say, this is how we're going to appoint electors. It doesn't so much prevent faithless electors as require two things. It requires electors, proposed electors, to promise that they will vote for the party that nominated them. And it basically says if you fail to do so, or if you fail to vote, then you're basically kicked out as an elector, and that's now a vacant seat.
In 2021, Democratic Senator Bill Dodd introduced the proposed law, Senate Bill 103. It has received unanimous bipartisan support by both the state assembly and the Senate. It is now awaiting Governor Gavin Newsom's signature or veto. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California. On Thursday, there were two plane crashes, one each in northern and southern California. One incident resulted in lives lost.
Two planes collided in Watsonville, about 30 miles north of Monterey. According to officials, at least 2 of the 3 occupants were killed. According to a tweet from the city of Watsonville, the planes crashed at Watsonville Municipal Airport shortly before 3 p.m. on Thursday. The city-owned airport does not have a control tower to direct aircraft landing and taking off. An investigation is underway. In Southern California, a small plane crashed in El Cajon on Thursday morning. Fire units and authorities responded to the incident. According to CHP El Cajon, Interstate 8 remained closed for several hours for investigation. The pilot sustained injuries and was transported to the trauma unit at a hospital. No other injuries were reported for this incident.
A California representative is looking to become the Speaker of the House if Republicans win back control of the House of Representatives. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy told Fox News that he would be Speaker of the House if Republicans win back the House this November.
Will you be Speaker in January?
I believe so. We'll win the majority and I'll be Speaker, yes.
McCarthy has served as a representative since 2007 and would potentially replace Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. His comments come as President Biden holds a 40% approval rating among the American populace, according to 538. Tensions are rising with some western states as they are being asked to reduce water usage from the Colorado River. But its biggest user has so far avoided cutbacks.
On Tuesday, the Bureau of Reclamation said 7 western states have been spared mandatory Colorado River water cutbacks for now, but they warned drastic conservation measures would be needed in order to protect shrinking reservoirs like Lake Mead from being overused.
We have made progress, but also have work ahead in partnerships with all parties to achieve consensus solutions to conserve water and support communities stricken by the drought.
The 7 states were given an extension on a previously set mid-August deadline. The states would have had to cut back their usage by 15 to 30%. Officials are imposing restrictions on states like Nevada and Arizona and even Mexico. The one state that avoided the cutback is also the biggest user of the Colorado River, California. This is the second year in a row where cuts have been made in the same states, but officials are warning more cuts may be on the way. The cutbacks come as a result of a 23-year megadrought in the southwest region. The drought has impacted both Lake Mead and Lake Powell. If both their water levels drop much lower, hydroelectric dams will not be able to supply power for millions of people out west. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
Disneyland's annual passes are back, but prices have gone up. Because the theme park's revenue report showed that annual pass holders spent less than regular tourists, they have been labeled as unfavorable.
The prices of Disneyland annual passes, also known as Magic Key passes, have gone up significantly this year. The Magic Key will now be replaced by the Inspire Key, which costs $200 more. All 3 other types of Magic Keys also became more expensive, with Believe Key costing $150 more and a $50 hike for both Enchant Key and Imagine Key. All these annual passes provide some benefits to the pass holders, such as discounts for parking, allowing visitors to skip ahead in line, and unlimited photo passes. But they all have blackout dates to alleviate overcrowding during the year-end season. According to Mice Chat, a website dedicated to Disney news, these annual pass holders were labeled as unfavorable. That's because the theme park's third quarter revenue report showed that pass holders spend less money compared with tourists. In a Disney earnings report, they wrote that earnings were, quote, partially offset by an unfavorable attendance mix at Disneyland Resort. While the unfavorable characterization might sound like an affront to loyal visitors, T-shirts printed with unfavorable attendance mix, not officially made by Disney of course, have become fashionable items among fans.